everyone. My name is Lamia. I am the CEO of the TLC Foundation. I'm really excited to be here. We started planning for this, I think, 5 months ago, and many of you were actually on the 4 focus groups that we did. First question we asked was, if we have it, we're gonna do this in 4 months. Should we? It's not gonna be perfect, it's not gonna be amazing, and everyone unanimously is like, go for it, do it. We don't care, we just wanna go back to seeing everybody, make new friends, reconnect, and learn about, all the latest research and make just new community connections. So I'm really excited at this turnout. I have to say, I was not expecting we're gonna have that many people. So thank you for making it. I think we have people from Mexico, England, Japan, Denmark, what am I forgetting? Germany, thank you. Australia. Did I say Oxford? Claire, where are you? Okay. Oh, here you are. All right, so this is amazing. I think someone just walked in with her bag. So people are literally just arriving and checking in and coming in. So this is so amazing. I'm really, really excited. I would pass it on to Charley.
Good morning. And I'll start by knocking over the equipment. How's that? Can everybody hear me okay? I have a loud voice, but should I use this? Yes. Yeah? Okay. Well, I've been asked to give you a little historical perspective, but first I'd like to say that it's so great to be back. I feel the energy in the room. I see the numbers of people. I really feel like we're at the rebirth of TLC, destined to become even bigger, better, greater than before. It's helped change the world, really, and this is a continuation of that. So it really is exciting for me and the others that my colleagues that I've talked with. We are quite happy about that. The other thing I'd like to say is that we're very lucky, we also think. Lamia, you are amazing. We needed a strong leader, an empathic leader, someone who has a sense of humor and a seriousness of purpose, and you have it. And we're so happy to have you leading us into the next iteration of TLC. So thank you very much. I feel like everybody should give you a hand, Thank you. I look forward to this. I missed it for, 5 years? COVID changed the world. We know it's not quite back to anything like it was before, but it's what we have, and we have to make the best of it, and we will. The great thing for me coming back is to see old friends. I'm meeting people I talked to over the phone and getting faces for. I'm seeing people that I knew for decades who came reliably and religiously almost to TLC events. I see my colleagues who we work together. I really feel a family atmosphere, like I'm coming back to a reunion in part, and that's very special about this. It doesn't happen at other professional events that many of us attend. So it's great to have you all here, my colleagues, the new friends and the old friends that we have in the BFRB family. Also, I'd like to thank the volunteers and all. Again, this can't be done without everybody pitching in and making it right, and the staff of TLC. So a little history. I was there in the dark ages. The dark ages weren't that long ago, although you look at me, you think they were long ago. But it was early in my career, for reasons I'll just sketch very briefly. I became very interested in BFRBs. First it was trichotillomania, later on skin picking. My colleagues at BFRBs were with me with the journey. Ruth Gollum is a very special person, a good friend, and a wonderful colleague. And mostly you know Ruth. And she's been there through my journey with me together. It really started. The Dark Ages were before 1990. What happened in around 89, 90 was that the National Institute of Mental Health was examining OCD. And at that time, they were calling trichotillomania monosymptomatic OCD. That's how far back, right? Now we know it's not the same as OCD. It has to be clearly distinguished. We need different approaches to treatment. The whole thing is an entirely different ballgame. And so, yet, that's what they thought. So, when they were testing a new drug that seemed to be working very well with OCD, called clomipramine, they had a subset of individuals who came and wondered whether clomipramine might work with hair pulling. And so they said, well, come on down, we'll put you in the study, a subset of the study. And there were about 40 people, all women at the time. It was thought to be only a woman's disorder. We know that's not true. But they came, and unfortunately, the clomipramine didn't work at all, really, in any targeted way to help relieve their symptoms. 40 very disappointed women. Ruth, I think one or two other people had a small clinic in the area. NIMH brought me there originally because we were doing so well with OCD. They knew, and they said, can you do well with this group? I said, I don't know. Why don't you just send a couple over? Well, Ruth knows. We had nearly 40 that came over, and here we were, 4 of us. So we immediately said, we're going to have to learn something, and I dipped into the literature, Ruth did too, and we discovered that there were 2 great myths that were appearing in the literature at the time. One is that hair pulling was associated with almost backward mental patients, wrenching out their hair. One book that I read, a very good compendium of information about mental health, and it said that about 1 in 1,000 psychiatric patients pull their hair. Well, already NIMH was aware it's much more common than that, that it is a common human pattern that we see over and over. When we look back in history, we see it in ancient writings. We see it in every country that we come across. And because the world is now being represented more easily with transportation and communication, now we are reaching out through the world. And I'm so happy to see people from other places who join us to become part of our family. So anyway, we got 40. Ruth, you remember that. And so we said, first of all, we have to work in groups. Well, we started with something that looked quite promising. Since 1973, there was something in the books called habit reversal training. Now, I want to make this very clear. Habit reversal training in those days was very different from the habit reversal that's done now. It's been embellished, improved, made more effective, and so forth. But at the time, we ran a group teaching habit reversal. First of all, we found out that, 10 or 12 said we had that already. These are very sophisticated women. They had come from all over the country, really, to engage in this study. So they'd been around. Some of them said that was habit reversal. That was like white knuckle, because they were told to do things like, when you feel like pulling, when you have an urge, clench your fists and push them away from your head. And that felt to them like just suffering through it. So we decided that, and the ones we worked with, they just didn't get better at the rates we expected compared with our OCD patients. And so I said to them, and Ruth said to them, look, if you can teach us more about this, I think we have an opportunity to learn more, and in the hopes that that learning would constitute a basis, a foundation for building better interventions, understanding the nature of these problems better. And that's what we did, and that's where we went next. Where was it, Ruth? Where did we go? San Francisco in 1990. We had data. The women went through, thank you, Ruth. I can't do it without you, babe. So anyway, there was massive amounts of information coming in, because I'd start off with simple questions like, why do you pull? Well, the other side, by the way, making it kind of an awful backward behavior, was other things that just a simple nervous habit, a little like nibbling on your thumbs, and I knew these women were neither just had a simple nervous habit that was just easily dismissed, nor were they. As a matter of fact, I wrote in a summary of the work we were doing that they were impressive by their education, by their sophistication, by their intelligence, and it just overwhelmed us that these were obviously not the backward people, but they convinced us it also wasn't a simple nervous habit. It had destroyed some of their lives, they said, or at least damaged it in ways that were very, very impactful. So that's where I and Ruth and others began. We went to San Francisco. We didn't know it at the time, but we presented the first national symposium on BFRBs. And people were there. There were notables. Nathan Azrin, some of you know these names. Joe Wolpe, Edna Foa were in our audience. We thought, wow, there are people coming to hear us, you know? And at the end, there was a group in the front. They looked very different. They didn't look like a bunch of doctors. It was out in California. They looked kind of like hippies, you know? Their muumuus and chains and, you know, a few tattoos and body piercing, you know. So, and this was in 1990, so they were headed a curve. But one woman stood up at the end of the meeting. She said, "I'm Christina Pearson." We're starting a grassroots movement to address this problem. We didn't even know that there were doctors interested in this. She said, "I need you. I need you because we need a science behind this. We need therapists behind this who are trained." And she said, "I want you," and she pointed out, "I want you to join us as a science advisory board." And that's what we did. There are many people, Fred Penzel, others, some in the room, who joined immediately, became part of the Science Advisory Board, and decades later still are in that. So that was the exciting part. That was where the dawn of enlightenment occurred, right there. Because from that point on, there was an escalation of interest, coordinated efforts, and TLC behind the whole charge against this, these difficult human experiences. Somebody has a comment?
We all owe thanks to Christina Pearson.
Some of you are going to know that I need amplification when people talk.
Thanks to Christina Pearson.
Oh, yeah. Well, Christina, well, I can't say enough about her. She did amazing things. A woman who changed the world from such humble roots and with so little to work with. Amazing. So thank you for pointing that out. Go, Christina. Anyway, after that, with the data, we looked at it and said, we have to put this together in some useful way, because there had massive amounts of people telling us they pulled because, oh, they didn't like certain hairs, sharp ones, the gray ones. I thought about pulling off my gray ones. You know what I look like? You know? So on and on, that they pulled out, not for the pulling. Some said it was such wonderful pleasure. One person said, better than chocolate, better than sex. And the other woman in the group said, you got to show me how you do that, sister. So anyway, we were learning so much and about the diversity of reactions. And so I organized it into 5 modalities, or 5 domains of what is involved to cover all of the people I was seeing. 5 were sensory. Many people either visually or tactily feel for places. The hands can detect imperfections in the mirror, seeing certain things, pimples, redness, and so forth. It all can trigger it, but it also is part of the satisfaction of it, to get something out of a pimple, to get rid of those hairs that are so sharp and annoying. But some people were also interested in what they did with the hairs, and about 50%, and that loved their honesty, because no one ever asked these questions. And they told me about things they did with the roots, with the hairs themselves, and that was the picture emerging. That was only sensory, then affective. Some people pulled. I saw cartoons when I was a kid when people got animals get frustrated, they pulled out their hair. But it wasn't like that. Some did pull out their hair when they're angry. Some when they were anxious. But many when they were bored. So it was definitely not an anxiety disorder. And by removing anxiety, you didn't fix the problem. So anyway, on and on. Out of that came the Cone model. You'll hear more about it. It's one of current existing, what we call evidence-based or empirically based treatments. And so that's the good news. Out of the Dark Ages came a number of approaches that are shown in research to have efficacy, to be useful for people in ending and limiting their BFRBs. So I mentioned the Science Advisory Board, the professional lifetimes that was shaped by many of us. So we were invited into a very secretive family. Some people didn't share with their spouse or their children or the others of what they were doing, but they were telling us, and we had to respect that. And from that, we had the privilege of setting our professional life down that direction. And TLC is an important part of it. We've been there, they've been there, and we've interacted and been part of that, and that's close to our heart as well as our professional interests, and I guarantee that. All the professionals I know who are involved with BFRBs feel that this is a special group. You know, there are other wonderful people who have OCD and Tourette's and hoarding and all of that, but special group. We don't ever get tired of you. We don't ever get sick of seeing you. You are constantly stimulating and enriching to us. And that is not just me, that I'm speaking really for my colleagues who I know their hearts as well. So finally, I want to talk about TLC in its heyday. We did professional training. We created this professional training institute, trained thousands of doctors through the actual live events and also the virtual events. We had retreats, which were amazing, where the therapists and got together with the retreatants, and we lived with them for days. And it was a very moving, meaningful experience to get us even closer to the experience for those of us who have other things to work on, but not necessarily BFRBs. We all have something to work on, you know, things to work on. So this is just one that's named and gotten some attention, and rightly so. Public programs were wonderful. The online resources, the meetings in towns, the support groups that emerged. The emphasis on research. We went to, a number of us on the Science Advisory Board, went to NIMH with one goal. The head of NIMH, National Institute of Mental Health, was Thomas Insel. And he was in charge of a huge organization. They had lots of people screaming for money and attention. And he sat there and listened to us. And he said, he turned to a colleague of ours, Sue Sweeto, who was also on the board for many years. He said, "Sue, is this important?" She said, "Yes, it is, Tom." And he said, "Okay, we're going to help you." And that started research programs that really culminated in much more specific information. And later, it was built on by the precision medicine effort, which is still uncovering treasure troves of data that we only have begun to scratch into the surface of it, and already are seeing things there that are going to enlighten us in improving our therapy to make it even better in the future. So here we are. Professionals feel very honored. People come up, "Thank you, thank you." We thank you. You have been so welcoming. We feel so appreciated. You've been so honest and open with us. That is very, very special, because you've helped advance the field. And those of you who are new to it, you're going to be part of it too. It's an exciting venture. The people, the families, the colleagues who are all immersed in this, it's been an honor to be a part of it, but there's more to do. There's a lot more to do. We know a lot, we've learned a lot, but we have a lot more to I just realized I went out of order. But that's okay. We have wonderful speakers. I'm going to get off now. What to expect this weekend? Wonderful people. That's the most important. Get to know them. If you have questions, don't be afraid to go up to the professionals. Professionals are just people too, and they're interested in trying to help you and meet you. So please feel free to do that. Mingle, talk among yourselves, as who used to say that on Saturday Night Live. But anyway, I thank you so much for being here. Now I want to introduce Heather Brooke. Heather, I just met Heather. She's very special. She is not only just a regular cool person, she's actually, let me get this right, Miss West Tennessee for America. And she's even worn her sad and tiara, you know, and she's going to tell you her story. Yeah. So, thank you. Oh, there's steps over there. I was going to help her up, but little did I know, there's actually... There you go.
Thank you so much. This is the one that's on. Oh, we just realized it. Thank you so much. If you guys weren't here last night for karaoke, you missed Charley singing karaoke. He did an awesome job. Gloria. All right. Okay, so I'm going to hope that doesn't fall. Thank you all for having me. It's an honor to be speaking to you all today. This is the second time I've had the opportunity to present at a TLC conference, and this is my fourth conference to attend. So TLC is something that is close to my heart. And I had a presentation already prepared that I was going to give and changed it last night because I realized that the group that I'm usually speaking to is a group of people who don't understand BFRBs or understand what it's like living with trichotillomania. You guys are different. You guys are probably very familiar with the emotions and the experience that I've had with trichotillomania. You're familiar with the confusion, the frustration, the anger, guilt, shame, and all the negative emotions that can come with having a BFRB. For you, if you're a parent or a loved one or support person of someone with a BFRB, you may have had those same emotions. So I wanted to talk a little bit differently today about BFRBs and negative life circumstances in general. I'm a licensed professional counselor, award-winning author, and Miss West Tennessee for America, and Ms. Woman Colorado, United States 2017. I'm here today to challenge how we think about not only the BFRBs that we might be living with, but negative life situations in general. You see, it was this time last year, I was standing on a stage in Atlanta, Georgia. My name had just been called as the winner of the Inspire You Network's Children's Author of 2023. This was not an award that I had planned on winning, if I'm being honest. I attended the award ceremony having no idea that I would be awarded this and didn't even prepare an acceptance speech. And it was as I took the stage and made a joke about not wanting to cry off my eyelashes, I began speaking from the heart. And we know when we speak from the heart, truth comes out. And what came out for me was a revelation. See, growing up, my family believed in God, but wasn't active in church. By middle school, my great uncle had gotten me going to Wednesday night youth groups. By high school, I had started attending Sunday services, and I would spend all day Sunday in church. I'd go to Sunday morning service, go home for a couple of hours, go back for youth choir, go to youth discipleship, perform and sing at the evening service, and then we would go out on a youth outing afterwards. On Wednesday and Sunday, I was the good church girl. The rest of the week, let's just say I'm glad my children didn't take after me. I believed in God, but I was angry with him. I had never told anyone that, or even realized that myself until I was standing on that stage in Atlanta. I had prayed and prayed for so many years for God to take away my disorder, and it didn't happen, and I got angry. I stopped going to church, I stopped praying, and for years, I barely had a relationship with God or religion at all. I want you to know I'm not here to push my religious beliefs on you. I just want to share with you my story and to offer encouragement. And God and pageantry just happen to be part of that story. When I was married to my ex-husband, I'd been introduced to the Mrs. Colorado America pageant. This is a pageant much like Miss America, but it's intended especially for married women. I signed up to compete in the pageant, and the pageant director, Emily Stark, is an amazing woman of faith. She restored my belief in God. She showed me love and kindness, caring, and that God had not forsaken me. Emily was the first person that I confided my trichotillomania into. She was the first person that I had shared my entire story with up to that point. And she encouraged me to stop hiding and to start speaking out. I competed for her for 4 years, and even though I never won the crown, I was awarded a number of awards, including Title Holder of the Year, Most Creative Ad Page, And the year I had that conversation with her, director's choice, which meant more to me than winning the crown. In 2017, after I had gone through a divorce at the end of 2014, I was encouraged to compete in the Ms. Woman Colorado United States pageant. This pageant is a pageant very similar to the Miss Tennessee for America pageant, and these systems are designed for women who have aged out of the Miss system or have been married and divorced or widowed or had a child out of wedlock. So it's kind of just a system created for all the women who don't fit in the Mrs. and aren't a Miss. It takes a lot of confidence to not only get on a stage and compete, but to walk into an interview room and open your heart for 3 minutes to strangers that you've never met. When I competed for Mrs. Colorado, I lacked that confidence. I'd had my eyebrows microbladed, and we all wore fake eyelashes, so that wasn't anything new. But my hair still kept me self-conscious because I was still pulling, and while it wasn't horrible, there were noticeable patches from time to time. I would wear extensions, but I was concerned that my extensions were going to show. And if I competed in a wig, I felt like everyone knew I was wearing a wig, even if they didn't. My self-confidence wasn't where it should be to compete in a pageant. I didn't want anybody else doing my hair. I'm sure a lot of you can relate. I didn't want anybody else doing my makeup because I was scared of what they might think or what they might say or the questions that they might ask. So when I decided to compete for Ms. Woman Colorado, I went looking for sponsors, and I found Hair Club. If you guys have been around for a while, Hair Club has been a sponsor of TLC for a really long time. And I became a Hair Club Extrands Plus client. That year, I was crowned Miss Woman Colorado United States, and I became a brand ambassador and now appear in Hair Club's marketing campaigns, social media, and their infomercial. As a result of winning my title and the partnership that I had with Hair Club, it opened so many doors for me. I've been able to be on national television, in feature films, music videos. I've walked runways in New York, LA, Denver, and Nashville, and I've even been on a billboard in Times Square. And my second book, Reigning Resilient Queens, is going to be out October 23rd. And it's a compilation book with 17 other amazing female authors about resiliency and overcoming. I've been able to do all of these things not because I stopped pulling my hair, but because I became confident enough that I could stop trying to hide my disorder and start owning it. When I competed for Ms. Woman Colorado, I was able to go into the interview and tell the judges about Hair Club sponsoring me and trichotillomania, and I was able to educate them and answer questions with confidence. I had no doubt about what I had experienced and who I was at this point. And all the attention I started getting led to me talking more openly about my disorder in all of these places. I've had conversations with people about trichotillomania at auditions, on interviews, on sets, in dressing rooms, and within my counseling community. And as a result of all of that, I started getting referrals for clients with BFRBs. One of those clients was a young girl I'll refer to as Molly. Molly was 14, nonverbal, and had been diagnosed with autism. 3 or 4 sessions into our work together, her stepmom brought her in and said that she had started pulling out her hair and that they had told their occupational therapist about this, and the OT said, Molly has trichotillomania, followed by a lot of inaccurate information about BFRBs. I took that session to educate Molly's stepmom on what BFRBs are and aren't, and what we do and don't know about them, as well as possible treatments. After the session, I went to look to Amazon, like we all do, to look for a book for children. I typically do that with kid clients. I'll read to them to help them understand what they're experiencing and that they're not alone. What I found in 2018 was that there were no books on the market for children. There were books for adults, books for therapists, books for parents, but nothing specifically for children. So I sat down and using my story, I loosely wrote, Where's My Hair? A trichotillomania story for children. When I got finished, I sent it to my mom and I asked my mom if she would illustrate it. And using a picture of my oldest daughter for inspiration, she illustrated my book for me. And we self-published in August of 2018, becoming the first book on the market specifically for children. Hair Club immediately picked up 400 copies of my book. They have a hair club program called Hair Club for Kids, and they offer free services for kids under the age of 18, regardless of why they've lost their hair. So with every kid who comes into Hair Club for Kids, they get a copy of my book. They just recently ordered another 200 copies to send to all of their salons so that there's a copy of the book in all of their salons. At the time that I wrote the book, I was just trying to fill a need. I was trying to help one little girl not feel so alone in what she was experiencing. And this brings me back to standing on that stage and the revelation I had as I gave that unprepared acceptance speech. For the first time ever, I said out loud and acknowledged, I prayed for God to take my disorder away, and He didn't do it. I was angry with Him, but He gave my pain purpose. In that moment, I had the revelation that everything in my life I had gone through up to this point, abuse, divorce, narcissistic abuse, codependency, low self-esteem, trichotillomania, all of it had a purpose. Personally and professionally, I was helping others in ways that other people had not been able through what I had gone through. I could relate to clients in a way that a clinician has only read about. If you're a clinician, you know, sitting in front of a client who has experienced something that you've experienced, it hits different. You present different. You have another level of empathy and understanding. But if all you've done is read about it in a book, it's not the same. I could relate to friends and family and strangers who had shared experiences that I've had in a way that somebody hasn't had those experiences can. So I do want you to know that if you're a clinician in here today, use what you've gone through when appropriate with your clients. We're taught not to self-disclose, but sometimes that's what the person sitting across from you needs. They need to see someone who's been through it, understands it, and came out the other side of it. If you're in here with a BFRB or a support person of someone with a BFRB, look at your life and ask yourself, how can I use what I've gone through? Whether it's your BFRB or something else you've experienced, our pain does not have to be in vain. Your pain has purpose. God gave my pain purpose. That's become my platform. And as a result of that, this year I founded My Pain, His Purpose Ministries. The mission of this nonprofit is to share the love of Christ with others and to offer free and affordable mental health services to anyone with financial need. If there's any clinicians in here who are interested in being part of that, please let me know and see me after we're done in here, especially if you're a clinician in one of the areas that's been hit by the recent flooding, because that's where we want to start our focus. We want to be able to offer free services. Those people have lost a lot, not just, and right now we're trying to meet physical needs for those people, but they all have emotional needs that are being unmet at this time as well. So if we can take that burden off of them, we want to do that. If you're a parent with a child with a BFRB, I want to take just a minute to say to you, it's not your fault. It's not your child's fault. Often parents wonder what they did to make their child pick or pull, or how they could have stopped it or prevented it. It's not your fault. I also want to encourage parents not to punish their children when they pick and pull. Even though it might be well-intended, we have enough shame and guilt that we're dealing with on our own without being punished for what we're doing. Help your child navigate their thoughts and feelings around their behavior. Be the person that they can come to when they have a desire to pull or pick, or be the person that they can come to when they've already done it and they're feeling sad or upset or emotional. Be the person who can be empathetic and sympathetic to what they're experiencing. I want to leave you with these final words. The thing that I once hated the most about myself and caused me the most pain became the thing that led me to my purpose. If you found your purpose, come tell me about it and let me celebrate that with you this afternoon. And if you're still looking for yours, know that no matter what you've gone through, it has purpose. God gave my pain purpose, and He'll give yours purpose too. Thank you.
Hi, I'm John Piacentini, and I'm going to wrap this session up. I feel like we should just stop now. I'm not sure I have anything else to say. Heather, that was amazing, and I think we need to give her another round of applause. So I'm actually the chair of the board of directors for TLC, and I'm also the chair of the scientific advisory board. I've been not quite as long as Charlie, but I've been with TLC for over 20 years. It is, I think all of us are on a lot of boards for Tourette's and OCD and anxiety and work, and I work at UCLA. We do a lot of these things, but I can guarantee you, if you ask any of the people here that are on the boards or do anything with TLC, this isn't work, it's a labor of love. And I think you've heard that from everybody here. There's something very special about this organization and about the conferences. For how many of you is this your first conference? Oh, man. Oh, wow. Love it. So the beauty of this conference is that we're all together. So we're together in this room. We on this panel, we have an individual with the BFRB who spoke very eloquently, Heather. Charlie is one of the most eminent clinicians, basically founded treatment for this, and a researcher. I'm a researcher and a clinician. I think this panel is a microcosm of this room, because in this room we have families, we have kids, adults with BFRBs, we have clinicians, we have researchers, and this is what makes this organization so special, that we all work together and there are no barriers. You heard Charlie sing. I don't know how many scientific conferences I've gone to and I've heard like the main guy of all get up and sing Gloria. I love it. One of my favorite songs. So this is a really special event, and please feel free to come up and talk to any of us. We'll be sitting with you, we'll be talking with you, we'll be eating with you, and we're going to be talking to you because we learn maybe more here at this meeting about how we can better help our patients than you might do that. So I just want to talk a little bit very broadly about what you're going to see at least the rest of today. And then I have a couple thoughts about treatment. I just want to echo what Heather said, because that was a little bit of what I was going to say. But again, you said it so much more eloquently than I could have, so I really thank you again for that. We're going to have panels on treatment, learning about treatment. We're going to have panels looking at the science that we've been able to do in support of better understanding BFRBs, much of which was funded by the TLC Foundation, and support and donations from you and from others. But thinking about treatment. So I'm an evidence-based researcher. I'm a cognitive behavioral therapist. So I do treatment studies. I develop studies and I test them, and I'm all about evidence-based treatment. And I think that's really important. And I think doing treatment that is supported by research is our best foot forward. But there's not a lot of treatment studies in BFRBs. So we need to be flexible. And a colleague of mine, Phil Kendall, who's a treatment developer, what we need to think about is flexibility within fidelity. And what that means is we need to understand the model. Why do people pick and pull? What is driving these behaviors? How are these behaviors interfering with life? And if we understand the mechanisms or some of the reasons underlying BFRBs, then we can provide treatment, but we can provide treatment that is flexible to meet the needs of our patients. Not everybody in here has a different story. Everybody in here comes in, there may be people that pull because of the way it feels, people that pull because of the way they're feeling, people that pull because of the way that they're thinking, and people that pull and they don't even know they're pulling. That's 4 very different treatment strategies, but they're all based on a same underlying principle. And I think that's very important. The other thing I want to talk about just very, very briefly is the importance of treatment expectations. So oftentimes, when I was a junior clinician, when I was first getting started and the patient would come in, I literally had a clipboard with a checklist. And that's how I did my therapy. You know, blah, 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 check. You know, say something, blah, 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 check. Oh, it so didn't work. It just was so didn't work. So now I've gotten a little bit better. I don't have the clipboard anymore. But I do have the same set of questions and the same set of understanding. And when somebody comes into me, and I work mostly with kids, but also with adults, the first thing I need to do, and the first thing is to listen to the story, understand your story. You may have been to clinicians, you may have been to therapists. I probably was that therapist at one point. Well, we know how to treat BFRBs. Here's the manual, you know, and it is this specific model. So I don't even need to talk to you because I know what I'm going to do. That didn't work either. So understanding where our patients are coming from, hearing your stories, hearing the nuances of your stories. I know what I'm going to do because I know the science underlying BFRBs to the extent that we know this. I know the techniques that have been shown to work. It's a matter of how I'm going to apply them and in what order, how I'm going to embellish, emphasize this and not emphasize that. The other thing that is really important is when we're working with individuals with BFRBs or anything, is creating positive expectations. I'm sure many of you have gone to see a new therapist and you're so excited and you really want to do it, and it's just kind of a dud. And I work with kids, and 9 out of 10 times the kids are dragged in by their parents. I don't want to be here, I hate this, isn't it horrible? And the therapist, we just jump right in and say, okay, make a fist, grab a ball, do this, you know, and it's not going to work. So we need to enhance treatment expectations. And we've done research at UCLA looking at a lot of disorders, OCD, Tourette's, anxiety. Others have looked at depression. If we can create a positive treatment expectation, if I can get at the end of the first session you to say, I think this is going to work, it's going to work better. And why is that? That is because if I believe that something is going to help me, I'm going to put effort into it. If I don't believe that something's going to help me, I'm going to fight it. So for all of the clinicians out there, it is so important to really understand this and do what you can do to create positive expectations. And how do we do that? By reducing stigma, by really hearing your stories, telling you our stories. I self-disclose a lot in therapy. I do a lot of parent training. I have 4 kids. And My wife is a child psychiatrist, and don't tell her I'm telling you this, but we were kind of crappy parents. We broke all the rules. And I tell parents, I say, you know, this was really hard for me. And I'm a psychologist, I'm a child psychologist, and I couldn't do it half the time. My wife and I couldn't do it, we argued about it. But I'm here to help you, and let's do it together. And I think that's what we need to really think about when we're working with patients and individuals. We're not doing this to you, we're doing it together. It's a journey that we're taking together. And I think it's really important for the clinical community to understand that, important for you all to do that, and for you to stand up to yourselves in therapy and ask the important questions, because it is about you and we're here to help you. We don't always know the best way to do it. And even the people in here that would be considered the experts, we don't always know the best way to do it. So we need you to guide us in the same way that we're guiding you. So you're going to learn all about the specifics of therapy, but hopefully you can have this framework that will help you get started. Thank you.
Okay, so how's everybody's morning going so far? Good. Awesome. Thank you guys, John and Charlie, for speaking and telling us just a little bit about BFRBs and the overview and the history of TLC. I hope you guys all have a great day. We will now dismiss, and you can go to your next session. And I do have a table set up in the lobby, so my book is here for sale if anybody's interested in that. And again, if you're a clinician and you're interested in partnering with my nonprofit, I'll be there at the table, so feel free to come talk to me. Have a great afternoon.